So let's talk about the 6 new paybacks this year. 3 of them we know already, and first one of those that we know of is called Rage. One of the wrestlers who has this payback is Cody Rhodes, and it basically lets you instantly get a new finisher. We had almost the exact same payback before 2K22, but the difference here is that when you activate this year's Rage payback, your wrestler immediately watches the Cody Rhodes and The Rock segment from SmackDown, and they're overcome with anger and rage. So they play this crazy looking animation. So you don't get the finisher immediately. You have to sacrifice some time to play that animation, which could put you into trouble. Also, as you know, using paybacks costs you your signature bar. So if that meter is almost filled up, using Rage may be a bad decision. The second new payback is called Iron Jaw, and it lets you negate being stunned completely. Now, interestingly, when you activate this payback while you're on the ground, you immediately start getting up on your feet, making this payback a great alternative to using the instant recovery. And I believe you can use Iron Jaw after signatures and finishers too, so this could potentially be overpowered. The third new payback has to be my favorite. It's called Freeze, and it lets you freeze your opponents right on their tracks. This gives you an opening to get back on the offense. What makes it actually cool is that there is more than one animation for this payback, so not every wrestler will do the exact same thing to freeze their opponents in place. Some will beg, some will motion them to stop. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool idea. And I've noticed a ton of superstars have this as their payback this year, so 2K must really like it too. Here's another thing 2K loves this year. It's the new move animation you're seeing right now. Boot to the gut and then a forearm. Literally every single wrestler seems to have this one, so I'm already sick of seeing it. I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of new animations, the rope bounce animation for male wrestlers have been reworked and it looks a lot more fluent now. All of the pin animations are brand new this year. They also look great in terms of quality, and they also guarantee we won't be seeing the jarring transition of the arms to the correct position every time we go for a pin. This actually kind of drove me crazy in the last 2 games, and I'm so glad it's going to be heavily reduced now. I say heavily reduced because moves with pin combos that are pre-2K22 will still have this problem. I cry so hard, man. Longest suplex reversal animation in history. It makes its triumphant return this year, and I have zero clue why. Another returning animation is the 3 elbows to the back when someone is leaning on the ropes. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this animation. It's been in the games for a millennia at this point. But it no longer ends with the one receiving the move falling on his back after the 3rd elbow. They instead crash into the ropes one more time, then turn around and feed for a move, which is a huge improvement in my opinion. Just keeps the action going. Dismantling the announce table animation can now be interrupted right after you take the top of the table off, and perhaps even before that, but I haven't seen it yet. The trade-off minigame can definitely happen more than once, according to all the new footage I watched. It can also happen as the first thing ever in the match or at the very end, so there's no set time or condition for this to happen. You decide what strike you're going to do by pushing your thumbstick up, down, left, or right. So there are 4 different strikes you can do, and then 2 different sets of animations. One for the beginning of the match where the wrestlers will be energetic, and another one that you'll potentially see towards the end of the match when your wrestlers have really low stamina. This animation set will obviously have the wrestlers look a lot more fatigued, a lot more desperate. Again, it's those little details that's gonna make this game so much fun to play. I appreciate it, but I'm kind of scared because doing the trade-off minigame more than once in a match might be too much. We'll have to actually play the game to come to a conclusion on that though. Wrestlers now have different type of what I like to call idle selling animations when they're down. Check out how Cody is selling right now when he's on his back. This reminds me of 2K15 because that game also had unique animations like this. One of the animations even had the wrestler lying on their side. They should totally expand on this in the next game. Alright, let's talk about another new gameplay update, which might be the best one of the year because it makes executing rebound moves 10 times easier. Basically, after Irish whipping your opponent, if you press the grapple button too early for the move, your wrestler will wait as if they're about to do a charging finisher and initiate the grapple at the exact right moment. And guess what? This is even better. If you end up pressing the grapple button far too late, your wrestler will automatically do a leapfrog or a drop down to give you another chance at hitting your move. So while I'm sure it will happen every now and then, the good old chest bump animation should be an issue of the past. And in my humble opinion, whoever came up with this should get a raise, just being honest. Another quality of life update is the returning reversal helpers, meaning they basically tell you if you're late or early when pressing the reversal button, though they look like they've been made by a toddler. I don't know why they look so basic. Now getting back to the new move animations, Bianca Belair now has a new KOD with a pin combo. It looks sick. She still has the old animation as well as a front grapple finish, if you want to do that. Her super finisher is a 450 this year. Some people voiced their disappointment and said, why couldn't her super finisher be a KOD from the top rope or the second rope? And you know what? Hey, I kinda agree. But we still don't know her full moveset yet, so maybe that's actually a thing. We'll have to wait and see. Charlotte has a real weird cross line as a signature from the corner. I've seen it done multiple times and it never looks like it connects properly. Perhaps it will be fixed by the time the full game is out. Zelina Vega has a brand new signature animation. It's a standing dragon sleeper. Shout out to Malachi Black, by the way. She also does a sunset flip powerbomb after jumping off the second rope as a super finisher. Yes, that's also a new animation and I think it looks awesome. As you know, the referees this year, they've gotten a lot of love. And one of the new things I noticed about them is that they seem to be detecting rope breaks a lot faster. They call a rope break out even before you can completely go for the cover. Now this may lead to some inaccurate moments, but hey, that's nothing new with wrestling games and rope breaks. They used an old animation for LA Knight's leaping top rope superplex. Now while he's doing it, he does this like rock and roll motion. Maybe this belonged to someone from the Midnight Express, I'm not sure. If you are, let me know down in the comments. But at least LA Knight has a new wake up taunt. He also uses the elbow drop as one of his new signatures with the crowd chanting along.
He's returning.
They've updated the model of Randy Orton. While he still has his old attire, they've got rid of his mustache, and that's right, you put some respect on the Viper's name. Also, big news, everybody. One of the crowd shirts finally confirmed Jey Uso to be in WWE 2K24. I mean, duh. But it was confirmed as the main event, Jey Uso. Yeet. We also finally have heel Dominic with the mullet, making it into this year's game, and I am so happy. There are 75 other confirmed names for the game so far. The roster will probably reach up to a number somewhat higher than 250, especially with the superstar packs from the season pass, the details of which hasn't been announced yet, but you know I'll be covering it for you when it gets announced, so be sure to subscribe and give this video a like for more awesome WWE 2K24 content. Moving on, there are 7 returning and brand new wrestlers confirmed so far for the game. Those go as Chelsea Green, Dusty Rhodes 76, Muhammad Ali, Rick Rude, Ricky Steamboat, Stardust, and superstar Billy Graham. Muhammad Ali will be in the base game and not as DLC. That's pretty cool, right? His inclusion also alludes to a match that happened at WrestleMania 1 being included in the showcase mode. He was a special referee and outside referee in that match, as a matter of fact. But that was a crazy tag team match with a lot of people, so I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna manage it, but we'll see where it goes. Alright, let's speak some more about referees. As you know, they're infamous for their insane bumps. And in the last game, you were able to cause these bumps to happen by hitting, grappling, or running through them with wrestlers that are bigger than the referees. This year, however, you can also cause a ref bump off of a springboard, as you can see right here. This is all thanks to the new update to diving moves. They look and work the exact same way as they did last year, but now, if there's someone else standing close by to a person who's taking a flying move, they're also going down. I think it's a pretty smart way to handle it, so kudos to 2K. We also have a whole bunch of WrestleMania arenas and showcase matches confirmed, but I'm not going to spoil them for you. Just know that the showcase mode has a couple of matches from every decade, starting from the 80s, 90s, the 2000s, and so on and so forth. Backstage brawls can now start in much more varied locations instead of the same place. You can start from the ring and go backstage and finish the ambulance match there in the parking lot. And we already talked about there being blood decals and blood spilling onto the mat, on the ground and all that. But I noticed that they actually stay there permanently, even during the victory animations, so you can look back at all the mayhem you've caused. Unlike older games, the place you get busted open isn't limited to your forehead anymore. It can also be the bridge of your nose, the corner of your eyebrow, and so on and so forth. Now, I know this was introduced all the way back in 2K22, but this year the system finally works properly, so I thought it was worth noting. Thanks to the new ramp camera angle this year, we can see that Titantrons do play in the Royal Rumble match whenever someone is making their entrance. The best way to see it is to play in one of the modern arenas with the Giantrons. It actually looks kind of crazy. The casket match also has an intro similar to the War Games and the ambulance match. Presentation is the lifeblood of wrestling, so this is a great touch. Love to see it. This is the victory animation for the casket match. As you know, the ambulance victory animation is super short and everybody does the same thing. I feel like that's going to be the case for the casket match as well, but I would have hoped they would have at least given Undertaker and Kane a different animation where they don't sit on the casket itself, because it looks kind of goofy on their part. Also, I wouldn't be amiss if I didn't mention the fact that this new lighting you're seeing right now, although it's very subtle, it definitely makes a difference, and the difference it makes, I feel like, makes the game look better. You can finally use corner springboard moves as a finisher. This most likely got introduced because of Cody Rhodes, the cover star, and his endless variations of Cody cutters. The AI actually uses corner springboards and springboard moves in general a lot more regularly this year. And the AI really goes for weapons under the ring in extreme matches. It will also use the new Trouble Weapons feature. See, Trouble weapons used to be in older games like Here Comes the Pain, but the AI would never use it themselves, or at least in the case of Here Comes the Pain. I played that game a lot and I barely remember the AI using it. But regardless, I'm super happy to see that 2K took the extra step here and made sure AI takes advantage of everything the game has to offer. I hope they do more springboards into the ring as well, because these small details really do add up in the end, man. And more to this point, the AI is much more aggressive when they have an opponent in the corner turnbuckle. Last year, they waited too long, or they sauntered slowly towards you to perform a simple grapple. And most of the time, they didn't even bother doing any running moves. But this year, it seems like they just bolt towards an opponent and try to get them with a running strike immediately. Now, hopefully it doesn't happen all the time, but I do like the fact that they made this change, because superstars like Ricochet, LA Knight, and many others have unique reversal animations for that situation specifically. And they are all great looking animations that will spice up the gameplay further.